The Russians are creating the appearance of success on the front lines using artificial intelligence. The analytical resource Deep State announced the exposure of a fake AI video by the Russians from Oskil in the Kharkiv region. It is reported that the Russian side released footage intended to create the impression of Russian military infiltration into the outskirts of the settlement. However, analysts drew attention to a whole series of signs that indicate the artificial origin of the video. For example, generated houses are noticeable in the footage, and in some places hangars were replaced by a neural network with private residential buildings. Also, unnatural changes in the appearance of the Russian military are noticeable in the video, which may also be a consequence of AI image generation. But in the Sumy direction, the Russians did not bother to invent victories out of thin air. In the north of the region, the enemy tried to advance but failed, as Ukrainian troops counterattacked in that area. This fact was confirmed not only by the American Institute for the Study of War, but even by some Russian military bloggers. According to them, counterattacks near Maritsia and Sadki were effective for the armed forces of Ukraine. However, in the Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions, the Russians did have some local successes. According to Deep State, they advanced near the village of Kaleniki in the Kramatorsk district of the Donetsk region and near Tsvitkove in the Zaporizhzhia region. In total, the Ukrainian General Staff recorded 189 combat engagements over the past day. Tomorrow is a day of mourning in Kyiv. Today's massive missile attack claimed the lives of 12 Kyiv residents and over 30 were wounded. The capital and the region became the main target of enemy missiles. The attack began even before midnight. Kyiv and Brovary were shelled by 24 ballistic missiles and a zircon. The consequences were felt in the Solomianskyi, Sviatoshinsky and Darnitsky districts. A children's hospital was damaged and people were trapped in one of the shelters, but they were successfully rescued. 2 hours later, dozens of cruise missiles from enemy Tu-bombers were added to the ballistic missiles, which were also mainly headed for the capital and the agglomeration. Monitoring channels reported a massive shelling of Borispil. At the same time, Kyiv was attacked by jet-powered Shaheds. Alina Lisova visited the Solomianskyi district in the morning.
A powerful explosion, after which all the windows blew out and glass shards rained down. That is how the residents of the entire residential high-rise building remember this night. This 9-story building in the capital's Solomianskyi district suffered serious damage as a result of the Russian night attack.
I just jumped up in a panic when the window suddenly flew right at me. There was glass everywhere, along with chunks of wood, bricks, and all sorts of debris raining down. It was completely overwhelming, and I honestly didn't know what to do next. There are no windows, the doors are wide open. In general, everything was damaged just like this. We are on the 9th floor, this is the second opening. The neighboring apartments, there were flames everywhere, everything was burning. We just jumped out and put on whatever we had on us. There was so much dust, you couldn't see anything in front of your eyes. We ran out, and thankfully the stairwell was open.
According to the State Emergency Service, the 9th and 8th floors of the building were partially destroyed, and at night, some apartments on the upper floors were engulfed in flames. So due to the fire and blocked exits, rescuers had to unblock people.
As of now, search and rescue operations are underway. The area has been cleared, high-altitude equipment has been brought in, and high-altitude climbers are working. They are removing structures that can only be removed with the help of a crane. And we will only be able to be sure that there is no one under the rubble after we finish the work, because we do not have precise information about whether there are people there.
Currently, the fire in the building has already been extinguished, but unfortunately, there are known fatalities due to the attack. One of them, according to neighbors, was a young man who was approximately a little over 20. He inhaled carbon monoxide.
And he couldn't get out. The firefighters said
The ceiling collapsed and the door was blocked, so he couldn't get out.
he remained inside, he couldn't get out. And then the firefighters said that by the time they broke down the wall, he had suffocated.
The blast wave also damaged other objects nearby. This includes a neighboring residential building, a kindergarten, and a school, which are very close by. Concrete debris and shrapnel flew into them. A similar situation occurred at the children's hospital, which is not far away. Rescuers continue to work at the scene, clearing the rubble. In addition, specialized robotic equipment is being used to remove burnt-out cars and large debris. Furthermore, people are waiting near the building, hoping to finally be able to get into their homes. Alina Lisova, Ilya Shinkarenko, TSN 1+1.
Electric trains and commuter trains are delayed. Ukrzaliznytsia warns of changes to train schedules due to infrastructure damage caused by the enemy attack on Kyiv and the region. We are talking about at least 6 trains, so please check the information on Ukrzaliznytsia's resources. Changes are also possible on other sections throughout the day. The company also reminds passengers that during an air raid alert, they should wait for trains in a safe place, not on the platforms. A day of mourning has also been declared in Zhytomyr today. There are already 3 dead there. Another woman has died in the hospital. According to the head of the region, she was a senior operative of the Strategic Investigations Department of the National Police. The number of wounded has also increased. There are already 53 of them. At least 1 person remains in critical condition. The Russians shelled the city with jet drones the day before. They hit the building of the main directorate of the National Police, where employees and visitors were present. Eyewitnesses have released a video of the cynical double strike online. After the explosion, the roof and the 4th floor caught fire. Nearby buildings were also damaged. During the air raid alert, most people managed to take shelter, but casualties could not be avoided. 2 police officers died at the scene at that time. They are 32-year-old senior detective of the Strategic Investigations Department, Police Captain Artem Zubchuk, and 39-year-old Lieutenant Colonel Yulia Yevdokimova, assistant to the chief of the main directorate of the National Police. Officials are urging people to take shelter during air raid alerts. Recently, drone attacks have become more frequent in the region.
The enemy has started reaching Zhytomyr and the Zhytomyr region with jet-powered Shahed drones, which are extremely pose a great threat to the civilian population as well. And as we can see, the enemy has now reoriented and is striking civilian objects.
The government has received ministers whose candidacies were proposed by the president. The Verkhovna Rada supported the appointment of Andriy Sybiha as Minister of Foreign Affairs. In favor, 266 votes. The deputies also supported the president's submission to appoint Yevhen Kmara to the position of Minister of Defense. 312 elected officials voted for this decision. Before that, Kmara himself announced from the podium that he is no longer a military man, since the Minister of Defense must be a civilian. During his speech, he noted that the enemy can be forced to peace only by the strength of the Ukrainian army through our technological and symmetrical solutions. The Russian military-industrial complex, military logistics, fuel infrastructure, all of these are the enemy's economic base. These are our targets and we need to act quickly, emphasized Yevhen Kmara. At the same time, he emphasized that it is necessary to seize the initiative on the front in all directions, on land, at sea, in the air, and in the information space. And the army needs weapons that deliver results.
The army needs weapons. A lot of them on time and exactly the kind that delivers results. Through transparent procedures and without unnecessary bureaucracy, procurement will work exclusively for the front and the defense of Ukraine and will not serve any separate interests.
Poland scrambled its aircraft due to the Russian night attack. The aircraft were in the air for several hours, but no violations of the country's airspace were recorded. However, in Romania, a drone crashed during a massive Russian attack on Ukraine. This was reported by the Reuters agency, citing the country's Ministry of Defense. It is known that the drone fell in an unpopulated area in Tulcea County. Just last week, an F-18 fighter jet patrolling the skies as part of a NATO mission shot down a drone over Romania, and in July, 3 drones were shot down. Romania also declared the Russian consul in Constanta persona non grata after a drone crashed into a residential building in May, injuring 2 of the country's citizens. Russian drones also violated Moldova's airspace. The local Ministry of Defense stated that it had spotted an aerial target near the settlement of Etulia. The war has long since ceased to have clear borders on the map. So is this an accident or an increasing threat to neighboring countries as well? Be sure to share your own thoughts in the comments to this broadcast on YouTube. And of course, like the video and subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, I am continuing the TSN broadcast. The title of Hero of Ukraine and the Order of the Gold Star. Volodymyr Zelensky awarded Junior Lieutenant Vladislav Polski, who, risking his own life, saved 2 wounded soldiers on an armored personnel carrier hit by the Russians. This happened in the Kharkiv region. 2 assault troops successfully completed a combat mission, but were hit by drones on their way back. Both sustained severe injuries but hid in a shelter and waited for rescue. There were no safe evacuation routes left, so a ground robotic platform was sent for the soldiers. The invaders tracked the unmanned complex and launched a direct strike with an FPV drone. The fighters ended up completely immobilized in an open area under the sights of enemy drones. Then Vladislav got behind the wheel of a civilian pickup truck and sped off to rescue his comrades. Under the threat of renewed shelling, the officer managed to load the wounded into the back of the vehicle in a matter of minutes and drove them to the medics. Currently, both fighters are in the intensive care unit under 24-hour medical supervision. Their condition is serious but stable. Another 103 Ukrainian defenders have returned from Russian captivity. These are soldiers from the armed forces, the State Border Guard Service, and the National Guard, including warriors who defended Ukraine in Mariupol, as well as on the Donetsk, Luhansk, Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Dnipro, and Sumy fronts. The oldest soldier is 59 years old and the youngest is 26. Among those who returned are the severely wounded and the seriously ill. The TSN team met the former captives along with their relatives and friends.
The news that thousands of families across Ukraine are waiting for, and today as many as 103 families are happy. The 77th exchange has finally taken place after a 2-month break.
You did incredibly well to endure all of this. That is it. You have finally made it. You are home now. Look up, the Ukrainian sky.
It's the first time I've seen the sky in 10 months, honestly. The conditions were like they have their special regime, personal regime. They kept us like animals. Well, a little bit harsh.
This flag is for you. May it protect you.
I honestly just cannot believe it. It is such an overwhelming sense of happiness to finally feel this way after 3 long years.
There haven't been any exchanges for almost 2 months. That is precisely why the first minutes after the guys returned home were especially emotional for those who were waiting here in Ukraine. The guys immediately asked for phones to call their relatives. Do you know who is next to me?
Could you please go ahead and give him the phone? It's important.
Hello? Please don't cry. No, don't cry. Please don't cry. Because I just can't. I really can't. I simply cannot speak right now.
I hear your voice. God. How are you?
Everything is fine. I can't speak, seriously.
You can.
All right. This is my own brother. I'm in Ukraine. Wait for me.
Do you believe now that you're home?
Yes, finally.
Vanya, come on.
Sofika. Sofika. A little more and everything will be fine. I love you all very much.
It is always a big responsibility and difficult to retell their stories. Among those who returned today was a grandfather who had held his own son in his arms only once in his life and was afraid to call home because the little one is probably already talking and running around. There were also those who did not know if anyone was waiting for them because their relatives are in the occupied territories.
Love, I haven't seen him for 3 years.
And how old was he when?
And I've been away since the 22nd. So I practically only held him in my arms once.
It's a second birth in my life. April 8th was the passport, and August 15th was the second birth.
We didn't know what time it was, what day it was. We didn't know anything. When we were driving here in the ambulance, we were told, there's going to be an exchange now. I didn't know until the last moment where I was being taken.
So, as of today, 103 people are home. Among them are representatives of the National Guard, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and border guards. From today, they will all simply undergo rehabilitation and work on recovering the health they lost while in captivity. Well, according to the coordination headquarters, this was only the first stage of the 77th exchange, which means that very soon we will be waiting for more wonderful news.
For Ukraine.
And above all else,
Nelly Kowalska, Natalia Nahorna, Andrei Marchenko, and Volodymyr Parakonsky, TSN 1+1.